Oh, sorry. Rick, are we ready? Okay, very good. All right, it is 5 o'clock on Monday, May the 15th, calling the meeting to order. The BEDC reserves the right to convene into executive session at any time during the meeting regarding any agenda item in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Government Code. We'll start with number 2. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Very good. We'll move right into regular business and presentations. We'll go ahead and start with 3.1, and then I'm going to move a few things around here. Approval of the meeting minutes from the regular BEDC board meeting and joint city council BEDC meeting of April 17th, 2023, and the special BEDC board meeting of April 27th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Second.
Oh, sorry. Second. Okay, now, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, we are going to be moving up 3.5, discussion and possible action regarding the BEDC's Business and Workflow Project Manager's role in the EDC Business and Workforce Development.
Good afternoon, Board. This item is presented to you for discussion and potential action to discuss the workforce grant that was awarded to the City of Smithville and exactly how the Bastrop EDC interacts and in so much as can incorporate our workflow and work processes and ability, marketing, et cetera, to be able to include them in our repertoire of resources available to our residents. So with me, I have Jill Struby with the City of Smithville, and Leah also with the City of Smithville. And I'm going to give Jill an opportunity. I'll just give you a little bit of some background information. City of Smithville Workforce was awarded $4.89 million as part of a backbone organization. The American Rescue Plan, it was a $500 million plan, narrowed to $12 million for Central Texas, and then $4.89 to Smithville Workforce for Lee, Fayette, and Bastrop counties. Skilled trades, IT and financial services, and healthcare to historically underserved populations, including immigrants, women, and low-income individuals. Some very good partnerships, including Ascension Seton, Quick Connect Electrical, et cetera, et cetera. The reason for this item being on the agenda is there seems to be some disconnect as to whether our Bastrop EDC would like to partner and participate with the Smithville workforce, i.e. Offer resources and also potentially send some of our folks over to Smithville. I think there was some prior discussion of the prior director, and so this is really an opportunity for me to clarify, and we will ultimately give direction to staff. But I wanted you to hear a little bit about the program, and I wanted you to hear directly from the horse's mouth about the program, and then we will open some dialogue and decide how the board wants to interact. So, Jill.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to come and talk with you directly. We really appreciate your time, and really we're so excited to be here to be working on partnerships with y'all and across the 3 counties. As you see, we've got the 3 counties that are underneath our purview. And so we're just looking into trying to make sure that the partnerships, all of our partnerships are very strong. I'm the chair of the Workforce Training Center. I'm also at city staff. So I'm kind of dual personality here, I guess. Leah is the operating director over at the Workforce Training Center, so she can give you a lot of current numbers, information about the day-to-day. I just wanted to make sure that you all know that we are very interested in, and absolutely, however we want to establish a partnership, very interested in making sure that all that works out and to everybody's benefit. So, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just that we have a lot of upcoming classes, and we would love to be able to have some of these classes actually in the city of Bastrop, benefiting Bastrop residents directly. Obviously, we are trying to serve the whole of Bastrop County, and of course that is the city of Bastrop proper as well. So we want to make sure we get as many students trained and make sure that they can fulfill their potential.
And of course, if you have any questions, we're here to answer questions about anything. One of the things that, just so that you are aware, we had started talking about this right before the pandemic started. It was actually a little bit of history. It was an initiative through the Smithville Chamber of Commerce. And the idea was, at that time, was to just start small in Smithville, figure out what we were doing while we were still kind of in Smithville, and then start to, reach out. And since we did get a grant of quite a lot of money, and for all 3 counties that we were very excited but surprised to get, it's built up quite quickly to be able to do this and work on these partnerships. So we're working on that expansion to be able to make sure that all 3 counties are well served by this project. And we're very excited to be able to bring the training opportunities all throughout these areas. So, did you have any specific questions? Or
Can you guys speak to what questions? I know you do CDL training and that's coming up, but you said you had a number of classes coming up. Could you
Sure.
just list a couple examples?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, we have a CDL class that actually started at the beginning of this month. We have 14 students enrolled in that course. We actually have another CDL class that will start at the 30th of this month as well, and it is already looking that it's going to be a full course, full class, and we are working on the 3rd CDL course to begin next month. So we're actually really excited about that CDL program. It seems to be going quite well. We just started a welding class last week. Full class, we have 14 students in that class as well. We will be starting an HVAC class in July. In June 15th, we will be starting an EMT class, and it will be an EMT advanced class. And June 20th, we will also be starting a bookkeeping course where they also get certification for QuickBooks as well within that course. Along with that, we are always concurrently running GED and ESL courses, and we also offer GED course in Spanish as well to serve that population. We also have CNA classes that are running almost concurrently, and lots of other classes that are definitely coming and going along the pipeline.
I just dropped, what I gave you just now is a summary, basically, of some of the classes and the students that have been going through the courses. And I did bring a few of these handouts. I'll just give this, I guess, if you want to take. So if you can see some of the offerings that we have and where it takes you if you press on the QR code, and you can see how the whole thing works and how you might enroll as a student and things like that. We're trying to make it as easy a process as possible for the students, even though sometimes it's kind of difficult on the staff end.
And I will say that one important thing to note is that unlike many a lot of workforce programs, we actually specifically work with job placement as well. So we're not just training these students and then just saying good luck. For us, our numbers don't even count if we don't place them in a job. So that at the end of the day, that is our goal, to get them through the training, get them certified, and actually get a career that's something that they can be proud of. So that's our ultimate goal.
I have a question. I don't know if we're going to talk more about it. After reading the package, I'm concerned and interested in what you have here, because to me, that's what we need in Bastrop County. So can you talk a little bit about how do people qualify? Do they pay, or is it something that's covered by the government or state, or what? How does it work?
Sure. So we do have this specific grant. The requirements for being able to be eligible for the course itself is that they do have to be a resident of Bastrop, Fayette, or Lee County. They have to be of 18 years of age, and they have to have a GED or high school diploma. The reason why that they do have to have a high school diploma or GED is because this is college level coursework, so you do need to have the basic high school level education. If they do not have it, then we are more than happy to enroll them in our GED program to get them up to speed so that they can potentially enroll in that program. Other than that, and selected service, they just have to be eligible to work in the United States. So with that being said, if they follow those qualifications, they are automatically able to be enrolled into our course. And then based on financial need, they can get wraparound services. So that will help with transportation assistance, if that is an issue for these individuals. If they need assistance with course supplies or anything else that is needed for the course to be able to complete it.
And you cover 3 counties?
We covered yes, Bastrop, Fayette, and Lee County at this time.
Okay.
And the course costs?
Depends on the course.
Well,
Yes, that is included with the grant.
but who pays? Student pays?
No, the student does not pay. Like I said, if they meet those qualifications I said earlier, then the course is actually free to them for the student through this grant.
Free to them?
Yes.
There's no, I mean, they don't have to.
No
meet any
out-of-pocket
requirements,
expense. They don't have to pay a penny.
But they have to graduate, I guess, meet the requirements to graduate. Is that something like you have to pay back if you don't?
No.
Nothing there?
No, we just get a little burn, so hopefully that they make it through the course, and that's why that every student is assigned a case manager to really assist them through the process and to make sure that they really do fulfill the requirements of the course and make sure that they're able to graduate.
So is this a federal grant that you have, a state grant?
Yes,
Federal
yes,
grant?
it's through the EDA.
Okay.
And just to clarify, so we are one of two backbone organizations. The other one, we're the Eastern County, and there's another one in the Western County. Right? Was it W? Yeah. And so the whole grant is going through the Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area. Sorry. Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area, and they received actually about 12-something million, and so they're getting a portion of that cost. We get a portion of the resources to us, and then the Western counties also get a portion for them. It's a federal grant, but we are one of the subcontractors with Workforce Solutions.
So how long does the grant last? Is it yearly? You get a yearly grant?
It's a 3-year grant, and we're in the year-ish. We're about a year into it, 8 months into the first year. So we still have quite a lot of students to get through the courses. And absolutely, we're looking forward to if you know somebody, we'll send them our way.
So how do you advertise? How do you get it out to the prospective students?
Through it.
You're going to talk about that? Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
things like today, but also we have a very active social media website. But honestly, a lot of it's referrals, not just word of mouth, but also through Workforce Solutions directly. So we are kind of like an educational provider for Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area, and so anytime that they have a student that walks in and they're unemployed and they need assistance, they direct them our way if they're interested in any of our programs. So I mean that's the biggest thing. That and then our social media presence seems to be the biggest referrals.
So placement, you say you place students also?
Yes, we do.
So what do you have a line of corporations or a number of corporations that you work with? How
Yeah,
do you-
so one of the reasons why this particular grant, it's taken us 6 months to begin the planning stages and get into what we call the implementation stage, which just started this month, is because we were doing all of this background work with local area employers, getting commitment letters from them, stating that they have so many positions available and open for our potential students.
And on placement, can you give us an idea of the kind of salaries that they're receiving?
Sure. So one of the requirements of this grant is that every single one of our courses and certification lines is that it has to be at least $18 an hour or more with a benefit package. So that is the minimum requirement. I can tell you a majority of these are well in the $25 an hour range or more.
25 or more? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Maybe I misheard you. Did you say that you just now got to the point of implementing it, or you've been doing this now because what you handed out showed over 200 folks last year, so I guess I'm a little confused.
Well, we have been in operation since 2021, and for the purposes of today, we're speaking about this grant specifically, and this grant was initiated in October of last year, and the first 6 months are just the planning stages.
Okay, great, thank you.
And to clarify also, I wanted also to mention that this is one grant out of a number of other funding sources. And so we have been using St. David's Foundation provided us with the seed money to really get things started. And that was about 2 years ago, July. Right? So about 2 years since we've been working on this whole project and getting things up and running. And one of the first classes that we had going were the GED and the ESL classes, even before we started with some of these other tracks to be able to get the $18 an hour and over kinds of projects. And so we've got some funding from the ARPA funding from the city of Smithville. We had also the Bastrop County gave us some ARPA funding. We've had a number of smaller organizations like the Born Again Emporium gave us some money. So we have been able to, we're working on a sustainability plan as well so that it's not strictly grant funded, but we've got these 3 years of this great big grant to really outline how that's going to work, get ourselves up and running, show the good track record, work with all our partners, bring people in to, bring in the students, bring in the educational partners, bring in the employers, make sure that all of that stuff is up and running so that we're able to really, after this grant is over, we'll be able to just continue the program forever, 100 years.
One other question. I think I read in here somewhere that you were having some issues with classrooms, getting classrooms and so on.
Well, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I would just say, just in general, in terms of workforce development, that is actually one of the biggest issues in rural counties, because for educational providers like ACC, for instance, if they don't have a space to teach, they're not coming. That is something that we have found, and it's been, I guess you could say, one of the biggest obstacles to overcome, and we've been able to really procure quite a few wonderful locations in the Smithville area. We're in the process of really developing those out in Fayette and Lee County as well, and we would love to be able to do that with you guys here in the city of Bastrop.
Thanks.
Fantastic. We look forward to working with y'all. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's
Congratulations
good.
on the grant.
Really.
Thank you.
Sounds fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So hopefully out of this presentation, I would like that the board consider an interlocal agreement or some other type of agreement where we can commit staff resources, information, et cetera, to make it happen. There'd been some miscommunication to the staff as to not sending anybody out of the city of Bastrop for training. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense. You heard the benefits of the program. They do also pay for transportation assistance. So I'd really like the board to clarify.
Yeah, I guess just a curious question here. It says in this email from Mr. Stuart Burns here that the powers to be of Bastrop seem to believe that we are not allowed to send or assist in any recruitment or refer residents of Bastrop seeking any training. Where did that come from? Where does that emanate from? I don't remember any discussion.
That was the discussion they had with the prior director.
Ah, okay. I don't believe that was brought up to the board at any time.
Well, and
right?
it was explained to staff that the director and the executive team on the board had made that decision.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on to better times then. All right, let's.
So, can you explain, I don't understand, you're saying that there's some perception that the board doesn't want people to go to Smithfield
Correct.
to be trained?
Correct.
That doesn't make any sense.
I think we're just saying the same thing.
Out of Bastrop?
That's correct, Mr. Washington. The discussion among staff and the discussion within both parties has been that while they will accept any financial assistance to train, i.e. a transfer of money or some portion of the grant to train in Bastrop, we would be unwilling to send folks outside of the city of Bastrop to train in Smithville.
I don't understand. I guess whoever is saying that, if that's true, they would have to explain where they're coming from.
If I may, I think she just had let us know that it was the prior director. The prior director is no longer here.
Okay.
That was never discussed with any board member that I'm aware of, and if somebody else has a different memory, please correct me if I'm wrong. So, to me, that's kind of a moot point. I think what we're trying to discuss is letting our interim executive director work out a working agreement with them so that we can indeed have meetings here and send people from Bastrop over to the workforce, correct?
Yeah, well, the only reason I ask the question is because if somebody's saying they don't want them placed, they don't want people, I'm trying to find out if there's something behind that, because, but I understand that. I understand that the previous director might have had that idea, but so if people go get trained, get certified, and then they get placed, I don't, are they saying they should be placed back in Bastrop to live, or are they going,
I believe that was part of the conversation, that we are all struggling to attract the same workforce, essentially.
okay.
But when one elevates, we all elevate, right?
Okay.
And the workforce shortage is across the county, and it would be silly to prevent our residents from being trained because of a personality conflict, et cetera.
Yeah. Of course, the travel from Bastrop to Smithfield, I guess, would be covered.
Yes,
by the-
they have
yeah.
transportation
So
assistance.
that's the only issue I would see on something like that.
It's perhaps much of the issue, but I also think that having classes locally in Bastrop would benefit the citizens here. So
Yes.
to the extent, if you ask me personally, should we forbid or disallow or not encourage people to go take classes in Smithville in this program? Well, of course not, that's silly. But at the same time, should we also encourage some of these classes to be held in Bastrop? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So
And so
it's,
that's, we're working on space. For example, one of the welding classes was held at the BPNL classroom in the BPNL area, the grounds of BPNL. And in so much as we have city resources or EDC resources, classrooms throughout the city where we can share the resource and capitalize on that ability to have dedicated classroom space, I absolutely want to capitalize on those partnerships.
and the interlocal agreement that you've discussed, what would that contain? Like, what would that agreement look like, or what
Yeah,
type?
because I'm wondering why we even need one.
Well, I think it's, one, for me personally, it's to memorialize things. You will have a new director at some point, perhaps in the future, and if these kinds of conversations arise later on, I want there to be no confusion that the board took action, and/or the board chairs may change.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is interlocal agreements usually have both parties signing, and so I would think even just like a resolution of course, we're in complete support of the
Sure.
training center, and we will avail our staff and help find space, because for me, Mr. Washington, the more fundamental issue is I don't know how we would prevent someone from calling and going to the website and going to the class. And so I think that's a little preposterous to say we're not going to send anyone there, because I don't believe anyone needs permission from BEDC board staff or anybody else to go to the class. So I'm completely fine with doing a resolution. My only, and I know, and our attorneys at the end of the dais, I just don't want anything that ends up having to come back to us because we're trying to get 2 signatures or whatever. I would hope that we do something as expeditious as possible.
So a resolution of support.
Whatever y'all recommend, but I totally understand, let's memorialize it so we're not having this conversation, this ridiculous conversation again, but I would also like it to be done in an expeditious way. Because we've heard from that very much the majority of the board, and
Yeah.
no one remembers ever having a conversation contrary. I don't remember discussing it at all.
Madam Attorney.
I mean, I think the real issue is how do y'all want to resolve it? I mean, if you want to proceed with her recommendation, with the interim's recommendation, you can do it that way. I mean, I think that's the real issue, is how do you really want to proceed? The fact that this previous director and things that happened before really are, I guess, moved on, right? The real issue is y'all have the authority to give your interim direction however you want to proceed. So whatever you feel comfortable with, that's the direction that needs to go forward.
Should we entertain a motion for a resolution of support?
A resolution of support, or because you also have, if you don't want to do the interlocal, you want to do just a resolution, so y'all get to decide and give her the direction, then we can bring back a resolution or whatever that direction you give at the next meeting.
Well, then I think we need to entertain that motion of having a resolution to work with them.
So I motion that we direct the attorney to draw up a resolution of support for this matter and bring it back to the next meeting.
Second?
Any discussion there? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Excellent, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now get back on to 3.2. Receive financial report provided by the City of Bastrop's Chief Financial Officer for the period ending April 2023, and any comments?
Guess what I am today?
Hey!
I'm also the Chief Financial Officer. Oh, other way. Okay, so sales tax continues to do well, and the portion that's allocated to the BEDC continues to grow. There's a healthy balance. You will see that we are 2.5% or so above forecast. So that puts us in the positive. Tracy does a really good job about, green or red. BDC's been consistently in the green. Budget to actual, we are significantly under budget. There was some personnel plans that have not been hired yet, and this is as of April. 3755, and we should be at about 50% or so. We're more than halfway through the year, so we are significantly under forecast to actual. Capital outlay projects also significantly under. We have not nearly made a dent in what was put aside. There's about $4 million outstanding, and of that, $463,000 is actual through that same time period. Projected working capital, $13.5 million. Even with 25% of operating expense put aside at $1.2 million, the fund is very healthy. And I say healthy, but there's a lot of projects planned, and you have an email that asks for a special budget meeting what month are we? May 23rd. May 23rd, so that we can talk about the budget and the implications to the budget in all of the projects that are shown on your sheet and that we're going to talk about through the rest of the agenda. We have budgeted in the negative, quote unquote, in the negative, because we knew we weren't going to spend that money. Probably a more appropriate way is to encumber either fund balance or, yes, ma'am?
The budget meeting is June 12th. May 23rd is your
June-
next council meeting.
June 12th.
Wrong hat.
Wrong hat, yes, June 12th. Thank you. So one of the conversations is, do we budget, quote unquote, in the negative, or do we just encumber fund balance, which is probably the more appropriate thing to do, so that we're never showing negative on the books or looking like we're not going through the spend quick enough. What that just tells the residents is you're asking for money that you don't really need yet, so. Debt obligation drops off significantly, and we don't have that much debt. I mean, the total debt payment, $144,000, and that was from 2013 issuance. So it does drop off significantly, and we're almost there. We may have some, right now is not the opportunity to refund, right? But because interest rates aren't great for us, but it does drop off significantly. And so there is a conversation to be had if we are going to be doing giant projects, is that debt that we want to take on.
What's the outstanding balance of that debt?
Not quite sure. Does she list that? Don't see that listed on her sheet. Angela, would you know that off the top of your?
I do have a debt balance spreadsheet if I can find it, so I'm looking right now.
Sure.
But don't hold your breath.
I'll email that to the board. I imagine if you have about a 10-year payment left at 144, you're at about 1.7. Oh, I might have it in her. $130, it looks like.
I'm sorry, Sylvia, I don't have an updated one on my laptop.
Yeah, I don't.
If it's not updated, what was the last one you have?
Looks like it was budget year 21, 22, so 2 years ago. And I know we've refunded some debt since then, I think.
So what was the amount
That's gonna
then?
throw this off.
I'll send that to the board under separate cover. Oh, that's it.
Are we
Thank
finished
you.
with that?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
I'm sorry. All
Sorry,
right.
awkward silence. Sorry.
My fault. Okay, we'll move on then to 3.3, the funding commitment update.
So first, I'm going to apologize for the tiny print that's on the PowerPoint. You should be able to see it better on your iPads and on the computer. This was an item that actually Chair Spencer brought to my attention and said he'd like to see a activity at a glance, essentially. Where are the projects, et cetera, et cetera. All of these were before I came on board. And so I know there are some questions on the sheet, and Jean is available to answer any questions. So I will field what I can. So anybody have any questions on the quote-unquote active projects?
Well, yeah, let me just kind of refer here that this was an example that we had some time ago, and it was a very nice, easy to understand, complete glance of all the different projects that were then at that point in time. And it really gave you a good sense of what the spend was going to be, what the project name was, and that kind of stuff. So I'm asking going forward that we have that information so that we all can see it on one page.
So are we ever going to have an ROI sheet by project? And I know some of that might not be information that we share publicly, but are we working towards that?
We can certainly create those and put them in each of your team's folders so that we don't create a quorum issue, but each one of you has a team's folder we can drop it into.
It would be great if we could see those. The very first one of Walk of Fame with the date of 1/20/21, the numbers in here don't match what was in the article by the Austin Business Journal. And, and I know that they've gone to phases, and I don't think it was in phases. So is there a point that they're updated? And, is the investment still between 42 and 62, that kind of stuff? I can't tell if things are latest, greatest or not.
And that's why I said this was just an example of what was used in the past. I'm not saying this is current right here. Oh, yeah, we had this during that time period. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we talked about during the policy statement. It's something that we're going to have to make sure we're doing for every project. So yes, I think we need to start seeing these.
And part of the discussion, I actually brought the attorneys involved into this conversation, was that this is all a matter of public record. What is masked is masked. It has project names, et cetera, but a lot of this is dollars that have been committed already through session. You came out of executive session, then you made a motion and things were approved, and or the city did the same. So in as much as has been shared out in the public with a motion, a resolution, et cetera, a reimbursement, those are public records. So you will have an item on each and every agenda called a commitment update, for lack of a better term. That's what the EDC attorney recommended that we put it under. But yes, Mayor, we'll bring this up to date, give an ROI to each one based on what was submitted and put it in each of your folders.
Yeah, this works for me. I was just not that familiar with all the projects, so for a person like myself, I'm sure people who've been on the board familiar with all of them, but not.
You thought we just had the 5, right, that we've been talking about forever? Project Jet?
I figured you had more than that, but I mean, it's still, like the mayor's saying, whatever enhancements you want to make to it would be great too.
So I misunderstood. I thought it was in here and it was latest, greatest, but you're saying it's not updated?
Well, I thought it was latest and greatest as well. But.
Well, no, if it's not, if it was intended to just be like a sample form or something, because like I'm saying, I just know the very first line is, I don't think, updated.
Sylvia, would you like me to?
Sure.
Okay. I believe the Walk of Fame is the only one on here that is not fully updated. And because of the dynamics of how that project ended up becoming a project between the city and the EDC, I wanted to leave what data we had until we decided exactly how that was going to come together as an actual project, so I could update it as to the exact request from the city and the EDC.
We're going to talk a little bit about that one in the, when we get to the maps.
The one that stood out to me was the triple arrow, the fact that an offer letter was sent last October, and here we are approaching June, still waiting on a response. I think there's...
Sylvia, would you like me to update?
Sure.
So on that one, with it being in the lower part of the industrial park, we literally had to push the pause button on it. We originally had thought that we could serve it from the existing wastewater, but because of its positioning from a topography standpoint, we realized that we could not. So we stopped and have been working with the city staff to identify some solutions through the ongoing development of the lower part of the park, of which I believe Sylvia will be discussing what that is and may have discussed it with you at the previous board meeting.
So the project below it has a city is working on a wastewater solution, but Triple Arrow doesn't. So I guess that's what might be what was.
I may have done that on the wrong line, so my apologies.
We'll provide a more updated and accurate sheet.
Well, actually, it applies to both of those.
Okay, we will move over to 3.4, discussion and possible action regarding Resolution R 2023-008, approving a professional services agreement with Creative LLC, DBA Insightful, wow, sorry, I cannot talk today.
Phonetically.
To provide the BEDC with a target industry analysis in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
This was a direct result of the discussion we had at the joint meeting in terms of informing how we move as an EDC. What industry is here? What does that industry need in terms of ancillary? Are there industry we can attract? And then that begins to inform our entire work program, who we're training, what our population needs to be, how we can work with the school, and et cetera, et cetera. It's just an entire information piece that we have missed out on, I think, and also how we position ourselves and how we begin to market ourselves. So we did go out and solicit 3 firms. One of the firms ended the phone call pretty quickly, not able to provide, and that was through A&M, I believe. The firm Insightful was the one that was most cost beneficial, and that they would also provide industry leads at the end of their report. So I figured that the board really wanted information pretty quickly. So my goal was to have them do some of that preliminary background work. You know, all of the firms wanted to come and do a site visit and get the feel for Bastrop, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, we're going to do away with that warm and fuzzy. You're going to get the work done when you come meet the board, then you can visit Bastrop, because I do want the board also to have some discussion about what they have found, what's in the results. There may be industries in those results that we don't want to entertain. There might be industry in there that is just absolutely not something that we want to work with. So in the first 45 to 60 days is when that preliminary review would happen. At 90 days, there would be a report and some board input, and that's when they would do their site visit. I would expect them also presenting here, and then a final report at about 120 days with a presentation to the board and recommendations. So it's a really compressed timeline. All of them were in the same price range. Again, A&M was considered non-responsive, so. Yeah. Says the UT Longhorn.
And the UT Longhorn makes a motion to approve Resolution 2023-8.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Help me to understand, where are we with Placer AI? Does this have any correlation to them at all?
No.
We're not utilizing
No.
them in any way, shape, or form?
We could not get out of the contract, according to our attorneys. Placer AI is immediate sales data information, not related in the least.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Very good, the motion carries. Okay, let's see here. 3.6, discussion and possible action regarding an area development plan for the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park, including a proposed area development plan for the lower segment of the industrial park and the surrounding area, a change to the scope of work included in a professional service agreement between BEDC and Doucette and Associates, and the possible addition of CBD engineering to the engineering work related to the Colorado Bend project and some industrial park items.
Ta-da. So let's start with item A, and that is the area development plan approach and the pro rata reimbursement to the EDC. So we're just going to start from an overall 50,000 foot, and then we'll jump into the details. This is the area development plan we've been working with Doucette. So I'm going to draw your attention to a couple of the items. Number one, Doucette's, if you recall, when I came here in December, I said, be careful because you're going to get change ordered to death. And here we are, change order number one. So the initial Doucette was finishing the round at technology, which would complete some segment of the park, the segments that were most attractive to change out. Separately, there's also the Mocha Road and the infrastructure that goes along to Mocha. Since that discussion, the city has approved a pro rata reimbursement ordinance, which allows a developer to be reimbursed as people tie on to a system that the developer installed. That didn't exist prior. So, for example, in the section of the park, if this is one entire parcel and they are tying on and need 50 or 500 linear feet of X amount of the water line or the wastewater line, not only would they pay their impact fee to the city, they would pay that portion of the cost of that line to install back to the EDC. So that is a way for the EDC to recoup some of its investment. I say that because one of the opportunities for reimbursement for the EDC is, as people tie on in this park, this is now an incentive for folks who are coming into the business park. If the EDC chooses to waive that amount, that pro rata, understand that you're waiving your portion of an investment that you made prior. So that's part A. Part B is we talked with Doucette, and the increase of the contract, I did get another amendment because I asked them to go back and sharpen their pencil. The increase of the contract was $1.092 million, a little under $1.1 million for this change order. That includes a regional lift station, a force main, and a wastewater main. So we're going to go back to this map. This lift station is a regional lift station. There's currently a smaller lift station here that would be moved here. That's always been a discussion in the park to be able to serve increased flows. Additionally, if you recall, the EDC was looking to help support the Colorado Bend project. The Colorado Bend project has the need for an off-site wastewater line that goes in this direction to said lift station. In addition, there is a line that comes this way. Both of these are related to Colorado Bend. On top of that is the prior layout that was approved in the neighborhood regulating plan that was approved at the council and planning commission level had the stub out that heads to Pine Forest 6 and the stub out that heads to Tahitian. It includes finishing out that road and the water lines, drainage, and associated infrastructure. So this becomes a complete plan for the park to fully serve it with utilities, which makes the rest of the property that much more valuable. Right now, it's $3.50 a square foot because it's really undeveloped property. The minute it's developed, this land becomes worth significantly more. (3C) is the possible addition of CBD engineering. I don't have a proposal from CBD, but the discussion has been that the Colorado Bend project is moving pretty quickly, and they want some connections pretty quickly. And so the idea that CBD has done all of the on-site engineering for Colorado Bend, they have all of the data and the necessary information, it may be possible to give them this piece of the project so that we can meet some timelines with the agreement within the city to have that complete long before the other segments of the park are complete as well. The regional lift station piece is probably the most expensive piece, and Doucette carved that out, and just the lift station piece is about $700,000 of that $1.1 million. It's a very deep lift station. But what it does, it ends up serving not just the park, it'll end up serving Pine Forest 6. It'll end up serving all of this stuff on Lover's Lane that is developing as commercial and anything else in this direction. The school's adding the public safety building and the school's expanding the bus barn and also doing all of their purchasing in a centralized location. The county has built their building and is moving to purchasing in a centralized location as well. So what this means for the EDC, completion of the park, the sooner the better, is you are able to collect the pro rata every time somebody ties on. So your investment is able to be repaid, and you end up with a fully, quote unquote, built out infrastructure-wise business park. So I can't have you make a decision on C because I don't have information from CBD yet, which really ties my hands with B as well, because Doucette's proposal is $1.1 million, and David is here to answer any questions. I would, for simplicity's sake, of course, like to keep it to the less amount of engineers as possible, but I mean, that's up to the board to decide. Maybe you can, shame him into reducing his costs from the dais. David, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, essentially, just
Here.
to go back to the original lift station we were proposing for the project was just,
This one?
oh, it's pretty, okay.
Yeah.
The original lift station proposed was to be here on our property, and it was just to cover the initial, the property within the the industrial park. And then later, we decided to take this one here out and bring it here. Now we're doing a regional lift station, and this is gonna be a really big lift station. It's gonna be close to 35 feet deep. I think it's gonna be around 1.5 million gallons per day. That's a whole lot, and it's gonna cover, I think she said it all. Uh-oh, I did something wrong. Here, it's too smart for me.
I'll be big enough for you.
I just want to reiterate, I think you may have mentioned it, but we're going to be able to capture a whole lot of the sewer flows from the east of our property, with all the development you guys just, even further east than that, all the subdivisions over there. So it's going to capture a lot, it's going to really take care of your infrastructure needs for water and sewer for this whole area for quite some time. I don't think you'll ever have a need to expand it.
So David, I have a question for you. So the increase, the change order of approximately $1.1 million. Okay. That is just for the engineering services of putting this on paper? This is,
Yes, sir.
and that's what it is?
The gravity main that you saw that may go to the other engineering company, that's going to be a 30-foot deep sanitary sewer main. So it's going to require boring and casing it, so it's, yes.
Do you have a current summary, for lack of a better term, of where we are in the project, how much has been spent, how much is remaining on it, so we can see kind of a timeline here?
Let me give them that
Yeah,
status sheet.
I'll have it. You can keep talking.
So there's enough there. Sylvia asked me to put this together today, so I
Thank you.
did my makeup for it. That should be enough. So I really have about 1.1 million left in our budget. I think we're down to where we know our alignments now.
Of 1.6, right?
Of the 1.6, yes, ma'am. So I think now we can actually start getting started on our 60% and 90% plans. I think our 30% is complete.
Which was this original
Yeah, it doesn't go that high up, but yes,
right here.
yes. Everything's below the light blue, yeah, that's it. So we can get started on the designs of that, but this is the breakdown of what we've done, what money we have left. And we're trying to see if we can work out some way we could just do some of this work under the old contract, the 1.6, and even decrease this change order even more, but it's getting difficult to really figure out. I mean, I don't really want to start cutting, then I have to come back in here and talk to you guys about more money. I don't like doing that, but the change order really is because we're adding something completely separate from what our original proposal was.
As it stands now, what you will be proposing is 1.1 added to the 1.6 in
Yes, sir.
existence for
Yes, sir.
2.7.
That's correct.
Okay. And yet, you might be able to cut that even further.
We already have, I've already taken out like 60,000 from the lift station design, so that's coming off.
Okay.
Wait, you took 60,000 off the lift station design, so the 477,148, we should take 60 off of it? I'm looking at what you just passed out.
No, he's talking about the 1.092. He took off $60,000.
The 477 is the new number. It was 530, whatever it was, in our first proposal.
But the final design for the original contract says 437, and it doesn't look like that's changed, and I understand because you're at 30% plans. I guess I don't see on here where we saved $60,000. That's my question.
No, because that's been updated to the new proposal that I gave. So I gave her original proposal of the
092.
1.092, and then I gave her a second proposal that does not, that's a decrease from that.
So it's not listed on this page,
The
that's
first
60.
proposal's not listed on that, the second proposal's listed on this sheet.
So the design, and maybe I'm looking at this, so you did one design number of 477,000, and the final design is 437,000 for the whole project. but you're not doing a preliminary design? It looks like you have different categories. That's what I'm just trying to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, it's not that easy. We have it all listed out here. Yeah, I just wrote it down as the final design for the 477, but that would include, I'll tell you what it includes.
That's your new number.
Yeah.
So his proposal was 1.092. If you add the last two columns, it's 1.04.
Yep, 648. Okay, so you're saying the 1.1 is now submitted as 1,043,000, and that's the 60,000? Okay, and where did you take that 60,000 off of?
I have a sub-consultant who's gonna be working with me on the lift station, and I made them sharpen their pencils. Since Sylvia made me sharpen mine. The other thing, Mayor, is that includes a PER, we're gonna do a preliminary engineering work for the lift station. So we can actually size it properly. We think it's gonna be about 1.5 MGD, but if it comes back, if we need 1.6, that's what we're designing, there's no change in the cost for us. If it comes back smaller, we may just go ahead and still stick with the 1.5, just to make sure we have extra capacity.
See, you're subbing out the design of the lift station
Yes, the Weston Solutions,
and the force main, or just the lift station?
just the lift station.
Do you have a project timeline that would be made part of this so we can see what your time frame is for this?
I can get you one, sir,
Okay.
absolutely. We're really under the gun, it's really more about the development schedule, and we gotta beat them. So I think we have less than a year and a half to design and construct. So just so y'all know, I've already sent my surveyors out here to start surveying the property. I just don't wanna waste any time, and we're just utilizing the 1.6 right now.
Is that year and a half going to coincide with bringing on the CBD to do their portion of it for the?
No, the 18 months is, and it's actually 16 months, is related to the Colorado Bend project coming online.
I guess I just lost 2 months.
And it's 16 months from the notice to proceed, so it's not like 16 months from there, you know.
Again, we're already out there surveying, so that'll help.
So the contract and the requested additional amount, that doesn't actually cover the construction of the lift station, correct?
No, nope, this is all just the engineering.
Right. So then, will the design be done soon enough to construct it? I mean, because we're talking about a deadline for things that this gentleman's not responsible for.
So, yes, he knows he's got to hurry up and finish the design so that we can meet that 16-month timeline. With his report will come an opinion of probable cost, and then that's what we will bid out. So it's a super, super, super fast schedule, which is why I would love to keep it to one engineer. Ideally, the board does not have to make a decision tonight. I'd like to have this discussion at the budget on the 23rd so that we can hammer out not just the amount, if there's anything from CBD that's a cost savings, and if not, then bring the board a contract and a timeline.
And then who's going to pay for the construction? Which entity?
It depends. A portion of that will be EDC, and a good portion of that will be the city. Ideally, everything related to the park is EDC, and then this is a partnership between the city and EDC. When we do the math and the pro rata reimbursement, if it makes money, the EDC would want to take it, I would think.
In the attachment B, I did kind of give you guys an idea of what the cost of the construction was. You can see in there, because of the lift station, we're looking at for 1.5 is around $2.8 million.
And so if you'll recall, some of the conversation with Colorado Bend was that the offsite improvements were going to be about $3.6 million. That's about right for his proportionate share of this, what would feed into the lift station and what would be required to bring him the necessary utilities. But that's 3.6 out of
And the discussion about Colorado Bend doing that orange line, is that engineering or is that building?
All of this right now is just engineering. That 3.6 is actual construction. That was their proportionate share.
When are we going to see an updated estimate? Well, I guess we've talked about that already, never mind.
Yeah, so it sounds like what I don't want to do is keep you from being able to do your job as the interim director and negotiate with the two engineers that are at the table. And so I would like you to continue those negotiations and bring back a recommendation to the budget meeting and if something happens and you need a special meeting because you need to pull the trigger, that's fine. But it feels like we've got we don't have the whole story, and I don't hear you saying, as your interim director, I strongly recommend that we do A or B. Am I reading that correctly?
No, you're correct, and I think David can sharpen a little harder.
Yeah, and I want her to have, I would like for you to have the ability for ample negotiations with the players to get us the best deal possible.
And also, I mean, in the back of my mind is how fast each one can get it. Obviously, if they can run concurrently and they both get to the finish line and we can start on one segment of the project while the other one is still going, that would be great. It's just, seeing those timelines side to side. David assures me he's putting everybody on his team.
And we can bring it in other
Yeah.
consultants to help expedite this.
If I understand that we got a good chance of getting paid back anyway, right?
Yes.
So to me, it's a
You
no-brainer.
have the opportunity to get paid back and make some money.
Yeah, but to me, it's a no-brainer. I say, let's get it done as soon as possible.
So today is the 15th. We will meet again June the 12th. She corrected me. If I need something before then, I'll discuss a special with the mayor just to get this one done quickly. Chair, sorry. Wrong hat.
And without wasting time by doing this, because the first thing we gotta do is survey, and we're already out there surveying. So
Okay.
do your due diligence that you need to, and we'll just get found away.
Then I agree with the recommendation that the mayor brought up, that we recommend that you continue on your negotiations with Doucette, and let's see if we can't get this estimate down a little bit, sharpen the pencil, and let's see how quickly we can get this thing going so that we're not holding anybody up.
Well, I think it's Doucette and CBD. I
CBD.
want her to be able to work with
Yes,
whoever she
yes.
wants to.
Yeah, thank you for the correction, that's right. So working with both of them to see what's the most economical and quickest way to get this done.
Let me ask one question. While we're waiting, prices go up, right, on construction?
Yes.
So we need to get going.
So he's already surveying. The issue is just this piece of the line. Can they do it faster, cheaper, better? Because this is the one that's under the gun the most. And if there's not a substantial difference, I think the engineering is about 90 to 120 days out. How long do you?
Yeah, that's what we anticipated. Well, for the lift station, it's gonna be a little bit longer, but for the main there, it's not. That's probably 45 to 60 days if we really get going. Once we get going on the design, again, we gotta survey it all. The biggest cost there is gonna be the pipe is 30 feet deep. And so we're gonna have huge bore pits on both sides. So we have to bore the road, because if we bore under the road, we can't tear that road up. It's just not wide enough. It's really no way to put some temporary.
There would be some folks that would say there's not that much of a road to bore under, but I understand
Yes,
it's
yes,
really
yes,
more of
yes.
the time to traverse it,
Yep,
and you can't
yep.
keep traffic open. But honestly, you'd be surprised what they can do, and that construction methodology may be worth exploring as well. And I think part of why, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but part of the conversation with Colorado Bend is there's a chance that they've already done some
Yes.
of this as a part of their overall plan, and I think she's trying to take advantage of that. Do you need a motion, or you really don't? Because it's just doing your job, right? So, all right.
Thank you.
Chair Spencer, before you go into executive session, I would like to answer the question that was asked about the debt service. Excuse me, I apologize. I was not willing to say 4.7 million out loud before I figured out what was wrong. It's because we've paid off 2018 debt and the Roscoe loan. So I did some quick figures here. It's about 2.5 million is what we'll have between now and 3033. Actually, it's two debts, 2029 and 2033, when those two are finished. But I will confirm all of that once CFO Waldron's back and have everything updated by the next meeting.
Okay, we are now going to go into executive session. The BEDC Board of Directors will meet in a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss the following. Number one, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations on Project Electric Lion, Project Jet, and Project Jam. And it is now 6:05 p.m. It is 6:39, Monday, May the 15th. The BEDC Board of Directors will reconvene into open session to discuss, consider, and take any action necessary related to the executive sessions noted herein. I don't believe we have any actions, so I'll entertain it. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, sorry, we're out of executive session, back into open session. So I'll say it again, the Board of Directors will reconvene into open session to discuss, consider, and take any action necessary related to the executive sessions noted herein. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right, all those in
Second.
favor? Good, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.